Being close to the president taught me that power was just about service. I've nurtured people to go to greater heights. I've nurtured people to find out who they are and how they are purposed to be. Now that to me is proper legacy.
We want to know who you are.
I've seen Dr. Shamim, she's a doctor. Why am I not a doctor? That's not about being a doctor. It's about what satisfies you, what makes you relevant, and what allows you to be a very influential person. Being able to create an impact is also something else. Authority, yes, I'm appointed.
Yeah.
Then so what?
Welcome to the show, Irene Birungi Mugisha. I don't know whether you know how much I love you, but I do.
Thank you.
Before we start, I want to thank you for being such an exemplary lady in this country. And I know that there are a lot of young women that look towards you. But I want us to get into something deeper. We want to know who you are. Like you and I have interacted on very different occasions. We've had our fun, we've had conversations of growth. We also had sisterhood.
Yeah. We still have sisterhood.
But there's something also very powerful. You're an author of this beautiful book that I have here, The CEO in You. And in this book, you write about something very interesting about everyone having a powerful story. What's your story, Irene?
Wow. Where do I start from? It's such a beautiful introduction, but very inspiring as well. To the viewers of the Imposter CEO Podcast, I'm humbled, first of all, to be invited to this conversation, because I also want to appreciate the host.
Thank you.
For having the idea that is in position to bring out what is that is not being told, because that's what you're doing. So when you mention about who is Irene, well, Irene wears a number of hats. I don't know where to start from. But in a simplistic way, Irene is a mother, she's a wife, she's a respected public servant, she's a communication strategist, she's a transformational leader who is currently leading CEO's platform, that is the Presidential CEO Forum. And I was able to be lucky to uniquely work with the president of this country. And so among so many things, I mentor people, and I'm a person who is not only, some people say it's a go-getter. It's not really about go-getter, but to be able to make something that is impactful in people's lives. So my mantra is blossom where I'm planted, meaning that for every place I'm at, for everything I'm doing, I should be able to make an impact, but also leave footprints. So in a simple way, that is Irene. Yeah.
Thank you. So in this particular episode, we want to talk about leadership, a legacy that we leave beyond our titles. And in your introduction, you share about working with the Chief Executive Officer of the Republic of Uganda. And that is very powerful in its way because it speaks about your personality as a humble person, as you're just different, Irene. And I find it's really, really powerful that you experience that level of exposure but remain grounded in a world where we get into offices and the ego takes us all. I want to understand how you have been able to associate into those spaces but remain humble. How do you navigate that?
Wow, that's a very powerful question. I can navigate it in so many ways, but I want to say that in a world that is equated to leadership, that you find leadership to be visibility and titles, I've come to learn that influence is built on simplicity of being someone with systems, but also it's built in terms of being silent, and then you are in position to be able to mentor people. So, as I mentioned, I've been humbled more than enough to serve my country, but also to serve the CEO of this country. And so in so many ways, the power of being able to have the influence of working in that space is about service. And to me, that was the driving point from day one. I am here to serve, and I will serve in any capacity, not because of a title. Yeah.
I want us to go to something that I read in your book that I found quite interesting as well. So in your introduction, you talk about, and I love that you highlight, your mother, your wife, you are a lot to do with your home. And I see that that reflects a lot in the work that you do, but also what you talk about in your book. But I want us to just go slightly to an area where you talk about family trade-off.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I know that you care about family.
Yeah.
You love God.
Oh, yeah.
You exhibit that trait and personality within you in everything that you do. And I know that there are a lot of women leaders in this country that are trying to navigate work and keeping their homes, taking care of their children. Today, as parents, we want our children to go to the best schools, and we found that many parents are taking their kids abroad. Navigating how to parent while you're away and your child is overseas, right? But also in the spaces that you have worked in highly demanding roles. Yeah. And you say something here, and I'll just read, you talk about the idea of trade-offs is one of the most basic principles in our lives. That in order to have more of one thing, you have to accept having less of something else. Yeah. This principle disciplines us to use resources efficiently and without waste, and also makes us alert to new opportunities and strengths that we have that can satisfy our wants.
Yeah.
Now, in an environment where the world is moving so fast, I want you to speak to a young mother out there, a young lady who's navigating leadership, who's navigating work. And I don't even want to use the word balance, but the choices that we make between managing between work and family. What is your perspective around that?
Again, that book I was inspired because of my journey.
Yes.
So I spoke through all the different examples because of what I was able to go through. And I believed that I am not very exceptional. Yes. That for every journey I was able to encounter, then every single person out there go through the same journey. We have different platforms, but it's the same journey. Yes. So the trade-off is such a powerful thing for us to know and for us to be able to appreciate. Most often, like you've said, in this dynamic environment right now where we are pushing our careers more than everything else, we've forgotten our lifestyle, we've forgotten who we are, we've forgotten where we come from. And it's about, I just need to be a doctor, I need to be a professor, I need to be X, Y, Z. So it's about either career development or, the other passage that is leading you to one step to another. So why is trade-off very important? Is first of all, you need to think and talk to yourself. Is what I'm doing as the host of the Imposter CEO Podcast very important to me? And why is it important to me? What am I looking out for? Am I going to tell the stories of the different people that I'm going to host for purposes of making impact? So first of all, you have to be purposed. And when you're purposed, then you do what you're entailed to do in a very simple way, but very satisfactory. So most often when we chase careers, we are actually not satisfied. We are not happy. But you're driving the fact that I want to get a certain either remuneration or I am competing with the environment of what is happening. I've seen Dr. Shamim, she's a doctor. Why am I not a doctor? That's not about being doctor. It's about what satisfies you, what makes you relevant, and what allows you to be a very influential person. Because when you have influence, then you're touching so many souls by making them be able to believe in themselves and get to another level. So at the time, I'll tell a small story, of course, about my trade-off. Yes. A beautiful job, highly paid, staying in 5-star hotels. And every evening you go to that room alone and you're like, where's my satisfaction here? Yes. You have young growing children, but at the end of the day, that's not where your passion and love is. So I was able to say no. Like I said, you have to let go of others, lose, and then gain. So my trade-off was to be able to let go of a very successful job and come back home and look after my children, of which right now I am such a blessed and very happy mother. I totally believe at the time of their stage, That was about 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
If I had lost being a mother, and a mother to nurture, not a mother to just look after the children. Because yes, you can be a career woman and you're not actually nurturing the children, you're just looking after them. And so that is something I want to encourage women out there, not to stretch so much, but to know that there's always time for everything. And when you trade off, you actually have a blessed life and a beautiful life after. So trade-off means a lot. And you may trade off with pain because, you know, you trade off and you have no job, so then what next? But we all know that we are not born out of nowhere. Yeah. Everyone that is born, like I say in my book, is a CEO of themselves.
Yes.
And so you can never fail to get something that will make you have ends met.
That's powerful.
Anything that you do, even when you're at home. Yeah. I grew up seeing my mother at home as a teacher. She left her profession as a teacher to sit down and look after us. And I believe she's the happiest mother right now. Yeah. Because growing up means at the age of nurturing children is you're pouring out so much love for them to be loved, but also to love later on. And to love to enjoy what they're doing. So when we trade off, and we let go of what we think is important, then you find the innermost purpose of your life. So when I trade off, that is the time actually the company that I do co-found
That's
that
all-round
kicked off.
consulting.
Yes, that did kick off. So I was able to think through for it. I was able to navigate for it. I was able to plan for it. And at the end of the day, it pays me more money than any other organization I've worked for. So that shows that we are all purposed to do something. When you're employed at Next Media, it doesn't mean that you cannot be CEO of yourself. Yeah. But you're using your own talent at Next Media or any other platform that you're at to be able to be productive times 2 or times 3. And so you pour out as you pour in. So trade-off means that you have to be able to know, where is my starting point? How far can you stretch the elastic, for instance, the rubber band? You can only stretch it to some extent. If you overstretch it, it pop, bursts. So that's what we need to do with ourselves. We need to trade off so that you only stretch what you can. And that will be very, very impactful.
And I think the most powerful thing is for you to recognize, you actually highlight that the trade-off could be painful or happy.
Yes.
So we just have to get ready.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. So Irene, I really love that you talk about this trade-off thing. And specifically because I've had to experience it myself on my journey.
Good to know.
It's one thing that I realize a lot of us don't talk about, but we struggle with it in silence. And I think for me, building my career, it has been my relationships with people, especially around not understanding my journey and where I'm at. So I've had to miss a lot of baby showers, marriage showers, all those showers that you can name them, birthday showers, a lot of those things.
The social life.
Yes, absolutely. The social life gets cut out. And in the way, sometimes people on the other side don't understand it. And I think that even with my personality, I'm an introverted person who sometimes gets to be misunderstood as an extroverted person. And I think because of my work.
Talk to the person here.
Right? So then I tend to get into my bubble because I'm thinking, if you are my friend, I wouldn't have to explain this. So I find that very powerful because there are a lot of us who are building businesses, maybe on different journeys that other people around us might never understand. And I see it being very powerful in a way that we hardly talk about it. So I think then your example tells us that we need to also be comfortable sitting in that awkwardness of when people don't understand us. It's okay sometimes to just retreat. It's okay. Yes, you don't have to keep explaining yourself, because I think a lot of us are struggling with people are leaving me, or people are ignoring me, or they're not including me because of the life that you have chosen. But there's something I really want to hear.
Okay.
Irene, you have worked with the Chief Executive Officer of this country, His Excellency, the President of Uganda, right? And I really want to know what your experience has been, first of all, working with him, but also working in a space where you're surrounded with power. What would say your leadership would be like without that?
Well, like I mentioned, working close to the CEO of this country, who is the President of Uganda, President Museveni, was to me a step that, first of all, I never dreamt I would have to. So my joining, not talking about the whole story, was, it indicates that everyone can be actually at that level.
Yes.
Because I had any dream or any thought process that would have led me to that office.
And you write about that in your book, about Miss Molly Kamkama taking you to the office and how that... And I like you to also speak to that calling to that.
So the calling of course, like you read it, lady called Molly looks out for someone who would come and support the communications of the president's office. And then they make referral to me. That time I was still working out of this country. So they reach out to me through my husband, and I'm like, really, that's the last place I would really want to find myself in. And I was blunt as that.
Really? Why?
One, because you see again perception, what you hear is not actually what is always, So like they say, don't judge the book by its cover. So the whole perception was always working in that August house. It's a mess, it's a nightmare and everything. But trust me, it's a platform that allows you to serve your country.
Yes.
It's a platform that allows you to make an influence and make a difference. So what was it like you have mentioned? I want to share it in a few points.
Yes.
One is you need to lead without needing limelight.
Without?
Needing limelight.
Wow.
And to me, that was the first thing I was able, because you talked about introvert. You know what introverts are. We're always in our own bubble doing everything. I believe I was at that job for almost a year plus, and no one knew that I was at that job.
Yes.
But the kind of service I was able to give is what mattered most. So I started having to have the impact by people able to make comments. If you want to go to that office and be supported, look out for Irene Birungi Mugisha. So that was my first point.
But did you know that, though? Did you know when you got into the job, did you know that the best way for you to serve was not to need limelight, or you just got to know about later?
One, again, not everyone is the same. If someone else maybe got that position, one, it was a position that was customized when I joined. That position was never there. So it was customized. So I needed to do my part, study the role. What did the role have its feet in? Study the role of my supervisor. And this is a nugget I want to give everyone who's watching and viewing your program. If you are at a workplace or doing anything, study the job description or the mandate of your supervisor and work towards achieving that mandate. And when you're doing it, that means you need to work in a subtle way that does not bring out that, actually it's not Dr. Shamim. That show was about, it was Irene who hosted it. So to me, it was the first point that I needed to do by doing my own investigations and my own prep and my own research. That for my supervisor, I needed to be 3 steps ahead of her every single time. And so when it came to even the CEO of this country, I needed to be even more 3 steps ahead of him. Because
I'm getting scared.
When you're in a meeting, look here, because you attending to his itinerary, attending to his schedules, you're attending to making minutes, you're attending to all those things that make his work very clear.
Okay.
And so if you're going for a meeting, have you done research on that meeting? Who is meeting him? Why are they meeting him? Have you done even anything else that has been able to be prepped for his attention? So it is being able to do things that allow impact to be seen but not in the limelight. The other point I would want to speak to is being able to do service and over status.
Please say that again.
Is you do service over status.
How do we do that?
So in so many ways, but I want to pick 3 things.
Yes.
As you mentioned, being close to the president taught me that power was just about service. Yeah. So the service meant that you have to do your duty with due diligence. You have to do your duty with humility. Yeah. You have to do your duty with being able to be very, very transparent and accountable. Yeah. And when you did that, or when anyone does that in any platform, what I'm sharing is can be done anywhere, regardless of the position. So you allow people to actually not find reasons around you. It's a high-paced office. A lot of back-checking. So the power that I had to instill in me was service. And that drove my mandate, my role to achieve the so many things that continuously are being manifested right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really like the element of humility, because everything you're talking about in terms of being in a space of power and not really paying so much attention to that, but recognizing why you are there. I think that's very, very important. But now, Irene, you head the Presidential CEO Forum.
True.
Which is a powerful role that you have and a responsibility that has been entrusted with you. And you speak about authority in a way, you see it as service. I want us to reflect in that space. Have you ever had an experience where you've had to influence things where you do not have authority, or where you assume not to have authority?
Wow, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You see, every CEO, every manager, every leader, at one point or in your journey, you're going to be in the space where you actually have no authority, but you have to make things happen. Yep. Okay. How is this done? Is one, authority is something else, leadership is something else, and also being able to create an impact is also something else. Authority, yes, I'm appointed.
Yeah.
Then so what?
Yes.
Remember, you may be appointed even without the role or the passage of being able to attain that role. Yeah. But because maybe someone has seen another potential leadership quality in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means you need to create systems. You need to create an ecosystem that supports you.
Yeah.
So for that to be done, what are your structures? Focus on the structures. Yeah? Then those structures will be able to support in your delegation of work, to support in execution of work, to support you in everything else that you need to make authority over.
Yeah.
So yes, it is possible that you can do any kind of decision, even when you're not in authority. Actually, that is what leadership calls for. As a team here, I think we are quite a number of such a beautiful team of production of this, the Imposter CEO Podcast.
Yeah.
If any of the cameramen had a challenge, one of the other camera person would be able to go and navigate the other camera. So that is taking a decision without even being given the authority. It has to be automatic because human personnel are given intuition to know what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. That's why we have innovation. Then if it was no innovation, everyone would be waiting for a boss to be told what to do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, that's quite an interesting one, and I recognize, for example, with just focusing on your transition from the president's office into the presidential CEO forum. I would like to believe you're still under. It's a different role, but you know,
but within your space.
Yes, and I've had the opportunity to speak at some of the platforms that you've created in terms of. I think the last one I was at was in where I spoke to was in K.Matovu.
It was K.Matovu.
And for me, that was, I think, the first interaction with the Presidential CEO Forum, and looking at how it was quite new. But looking at how you've been able to build that, I think for me, it makes a lot of sense in how you navigate that transition and then recognize like working from the ground. Because you talk about in your book as well that your role in the president's office was never there, it was created. So you've had an opportunity where you start things from the face on a, you know, on a clear slate for you to create that for yourself. And I think that's very, very powerful in terms of when we speak about authority and your experience and how you're transitioning into the person that you are, the leader that you are, that we can all learn from you as well.
Thank you.
That is so, so humbling. And for me, that's very powerful. But I want us to think about also whether there have been moments where you've been a leader in an informal setting. By virtue of where you've worked and things you've been exposed to in different spaces where you attend, and you specifically don't have a role there, but because of the spaces you've been in, have there been any influence in an informal space where you don't have the authority there, but you are in that space because of the person that you are and the experiences that you've had? How have you been able to handle that?
Well, that's a question that is almost like twofold. One, being in a space because either you're not meant to be there, and then how are you in position to handle it, right? I'm trying to see which example, but I can still relate it to the office of the president.
Yeah.
Because it's an office that navigates you to be quite alert. So most often you are in engagements, and probably the person who is meant to be in that engagement is not available. So then how do you come out to make a decision? That is very, very important.
Yeah.
At the time when I had just joined the private office, I remember I was thrown into a deep ocean. So my supervisor just calls in the morning and says, look here, the president is in Ginger and you have to be in Ginger. Yeah? No prep, no nothing.
Yes.
So you're going to manage the itinerary of that day. So you hit the road all the way to Ginger, and then you reach the venue and they say, yes, in a few minutes you'll be ready. And then you wait to be ushered in. So I'm called in and it's like, oh, they sent you? I'm like, okay, what does this mean?
Yes.
So anyways, he's such a humorous person and with a father vibe. So I'm like, yes, Your Excellency, I'm here to be able to manage the itinerary of the day.
Yes.
That meant that I needed to be dressed in that position.
Yes.
Feeling the confidence and say, I can do it. The moment he asked that question, I said yes. He asked me, what is it for me? I took him through the whole itinerary, and my God, that whole day allowed me to make decisions that should have been made by someone else, but were well articulated. We had a scenario in that seminar, and I'm going to mention it because it was an occasion where we go up country, and then he has to do so many networks, engagements, but then later on do a press up. So then we had media that was supposed to come in. And then you know how media are very interesting. Everyone wants to have the piece of the gentleman. And so some media people were left out.
We all want to have a piece of him.
And here comes Irene, who had to make a decision.
Yes.
And of course, in the middle of the way, I say, yes, these are the ones that have been accredited with our system, and they're here. There was a concern why others were dropped out, and I had to briefly, but also be very articulate and confident and communicate to him and say, look here, because one of the important persons sat and said, this young lady has refused some of the media people to come in. I said, Your Excellency, you're here because one, you've toured, you've made your comment, and yes, we have 1, 2, 3 radio stations, and the rest are going to tap into that.
Yes.
But that is a decision that I had to make and stand by it. So again, in the spaces that we are at, I don't want to really just refer to my own examples. Is either a woman or a man, we need to make decisions that are very constructive and objective, not biased. So, and we always need to be prepared. The moment you're prepared, it becomes a bit simple and more. The other one, of course, as a CEO at the Presidential CEO Forum, you're leading a whole platform of CEOs in Uganda, which is such a privilege. So we work closely with the private office, again, State House, but also with the OPM and Ministry of Finance. So it's in those positions that most times I'm making calculative decisions on behalf of all the 3 tiers. Yeah? What subject am I talking about? At the 5th biennial, we were engaged in agriculture processes.
Yes.
But we needed to know that when the president comes, so what next? So then we picked the tourism sector or the tourism program or conversation that we are going to spearhead now. But those are decisions I make even before the board.
But in light of the decision making, because I know, like recently we were having a conversation, I was saying to leaders that you see, we're having an engagement with a team of leaders in an organization. And one of the areas that a lot of leaders struggle with is making decisions.
Yeah.
Some of us think that being indecisive is safe, but I think that is the worst thing you can ever do as a leader. But focusing on that, I hear you say, as a leader, you have to be alert, you have to be agile, you need to be open to options so that you have the right information to make decisions. Are there moments when you've made a wrong decision? Or do you ever worry about making a wrong decision?
I believe it's a normal thing for everyone to worry, because when you worry, you think twice.
Okay.
Moments where I've made the wrong decisions, I believe so too, because at one point I was able to fire someone without going through the same. So then I had to be brought back in my space and told, look here, yes, you're the CEO, but we needed to have followed X, Y.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are those decisions that as a leader you could make. But have spaces where you also interact with the professionals.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer, but I needed to seek legal advice. If I'm not an accountant and I have to make any requisition or any accountability, then better off you also indulge with the accountant provision of, if you do this, this is what you do. So leaders need to work with other professionals.
Collaboration.
Very, very important.
Yes, yes.
It's the reason that you're a doctor in what you are and I am who I am, because then at the end of the day, we collaborate together, we network together and get to fulfill the agenda of the day. So most leaders, you're on top there, but you're not the strategic, you're on the strategic level, but you're not the implementer, you're not the technical person.
Yes. So we need to know
So when you're making that decision, learn to consult, learn to seek advice, learn to know.
And to listen, because we can seek advice, but sometimes we don't listen.
But the moment you seek advice, you're going to listen. Very rare people who seek advice won't listen. Yeah. Okay. It's those that hardly seek advice that won't listen, but listening is a very good virtue.
Yeah.
And even when, like you mentioned, if you're in a space of a board meeting and then you've done everything else, what is your role? It's very important that you always have something to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But again, you have to have prepped and know what is the agenda so that you contribute constructively to that agenda.
But I hear you say we must be very alert.
Yeah.
Right. Irene, you have a very rich experience. And there's something I found so interesting in your book. And I think for me, especially getting into my work at the university where we support our students to get prepared for the world of work, I find it very interesting when you talk about how you get into media. But you didn't even have the qualifications, right? So your journey through PR and journalism, and then obviously in the president's office, there are things that I find very, very instrumental. And professionally with me, one of the things that I really hold in high regard is organizational culture. Because I believe it's the behavior that we set in terms of what's acceptable and what's unacceptable in our environment. I would like to hear from you some of the times where you have been able to influence that culture, where you did not actually even have influence or authority, like coming in as a young girl and setting your pace for you to be the person that you want to be or the person that you are today.
Okay, a good one too there. Culture is something that is built, and is built by either at family level, you have your own culture. It's built in a society level, you'll have your own culture, and also built at organizational level. So yes, rightly, as you mentioned, joined the media without any training of any media technical capacities. But then when I joined the institution, because I had admired the institution by just watching TV. Growing up, my two people that I keep saying were my innermost interested people I watched was Rosemary Church of CNN and Brenda Nabiru at WBS. And every time I watched those people, I thought, I think I could do better than they do.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was my inner conviction that allowed me to say, I can go for it.
Yeah.
So I met Sechanzi Elvis, who was the proprietor at WBS then, and we met at now we're having fun. And I just told him, I want to come and do news. He said, are you sure? I said, yes. So he gave me an appointment. Monday I was there. Long story short, I was on the screens. But truth be told, you can never excel in what you're doing unless you learn to be trainable. So there's need to accept to be trained. So my first interest was to ensure that I'm trained. What does it mean to have my rhetoric improved? What does it mean to have that my confidence in reporting on the business stories that I'm reporting on, that will be appreciated? But then you needed also to be down to earth. So my entry point there was to be a business reporter, because I loved things that bring impact. So I only did stories that I have something to tell that was actually factual and reality and true. And so every time I went to the field, I needed to know who is the person behind the idea. And when you do that, then you're allowing yourself to be knowledgeable and to be authentic. Now, the time I come to the screens, I'm as authentic as the person in charge of that idea. And that's what we miss out. And I want to see that this generation of our media fraternity, people get time to research, people get time to be in the field. I've most often told people you only can be in the field if you're as good as being that person.
But also, and I think I relate this to what you say in your book, but you see, you blossom where I am planted. And I think that's very powerful because it speaks about the journey that you take. And in your book, you talk about your own journey. Today, we see that this country is flooded by a very young population. And recognizing, especially in the corporate space where people have to take the corporate ladder, some people see that as this is such a long journey. We are talking about legacy that we're building beyond titles, because you have talked about the journey of the people that inspired you, but also there are a lot more of us that you're inspiring, that look up to you. What is the advice that you can give to middle-level managers, for example, that are going through that journey? How can they sit in that space and be comfortable to learn, be open to understanding, be open to be curious, to learn from others, so that they can see the path for them, for their own journey as well?
I'll relate that to just 3 points and allow me to also just pick a few from what I'd noted down. One is bridge building leadership. How do you do this is you need to require to connect with generations. You need to be able to connect with the environment around you, but also be in position to have an idea of what it takes. So when you're building this relationship, you need to also know that as a leader, you have to have a legacy that is more of a bridge than just a gatekeeper.
How do we actually get there? Because I think...
Because legacy means footprint. So as Irene, I've met, I think, hundreds and hundreds of people. And even the silent ones that I even don't know about. But I've been intentional in that because there's need to build a kind of leadership that is admirable. That when you're a bridge, then you allow people to move from one area to another. When you're a bridge, you allow people to be able to move one step every time. When you're a bridge, then you even encourage them to get out of their kind of limited space to another open space. But when you're a gatekeeper, that means then you're going to be at a stopping of, if doctor has come, I don't think he's supposed to be here. So you are closing off people. So legacy is your conduit. You allow people to come from a different space to another space. So I've nurtured people in bigger places. I've nurtured people to go to greater heights. I've nurtured people to find out who they are and how their purpose to be. Now that to me is proper legacy.
Wow, you see, oh my God. This is very powerful because there are a lot of us that have a scarcity mindset. where we see people, and I think we've talked about this often, that as gatekeepers, we have a responsibility to let people in, because then that becomes a multiplier effect. But we've also had conversations, and especially for us women leaders, right? I think that we have spoken so much about opening a space for women and young women for that matter, but I don't feel like we are doing enough in attracting young women into spaces and being open to nurturing them, advising them, bringing them along, and extending that grace, recognizing that we all come from different walks of life. And I really want to hear your perspective, because I think that as women leaders, we're still so closed. What do you think is the problem?
By nature, women were supposed to be closed, but the world has been able to get its own diversity and allowed women to get out of being from the kitchen to now the boardroom. But now when we're in that space, we actually believe no one else should be in that space but me. And trust me, you will not break the glass ceiling if you're in that space alone. There's need to be continuity. Recently, I was at one of the events for Rotarian, and I was speaking to one of my silent mentors. And as we spoke, that's one of the challenges we were speaking to. So we need to find how best can we attract more women to use the soft power. We have the soft power you can never know. Because we influence impact, we influence decisions without even doing so much. So we need to embrace that soft power and manage the leadership role by also mentoring more women. I am doing it personally by ensuring that when I'm at any organization, I look out for women first. So I believe that, one, because of our multitasking abilities, one, because we have an ideology of interpreting things, not that the men can't, they do, but also we have a very good complementary agenda for the men. And as such, we need to observe what they're doing, how they're doing it, and do it better. Because we make better decisions than they do. They are very rational. We think through our decisions. So the challenge is the complex. And we need to stop having the complex and know we can do it.
And that's why we're having this conversation anyway, you know, just unpacking what it means to be leaders and the challenges that we go through and the things that we really transpire within our society. Irene, I really want to give you flowers. I appreciate you for being so forthcoming, for being a fearful child of God, fearful of God's authority to serve others and be exemplary. And I really, really want to appreciate you for making the time to speak to us, because, like you said, you mentor a lot of women that you do not know about, and having conversations of this nature enable us to understand the trade-offs, the journey, the things you talk about in your book. This book is just mind-blowing.
Thank you.
Because it will tell me so much about the person that you are. Because sometimes we see people and we just think we know
create
them.
a perception around them.
Create our own perception. So, Irene, thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing this journey with us, for being a great mentor, for being an exemplary woman. And we wish you all the very best in all your endeavors.
Thank you.
I know that greater times ahead for us. We've had amazing times in London, here, and I'm looking towards very, very many more exciting moments with you. I literally, building that sisterhood. I do really appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.